Ladies and gentlemen, Violent Games here. Today I'm going to be answering the question, is Bonecharm Crafting worth it? Yeah. I'm going to be doing this video by reading all of the ranks from the perk itself, and then I'm going to move into whether or not it is worth it. Without further ado, let's get started. Bonecharm Crafting. Craft your own unique bone charms with some chance of corruption. Corruption. Trait Synergy. Use the same trait up to 4 times across your crafted bone charms. Witchcrafting. Lower chance of corruption for bone charms with 3 or 4 traits. And Mastercrafting. No chance of corruption when crafting bone charms with 3 traits. There's still a low chance of corruption when crafting bone charms with 4 traits. And finally, Craft Runes. Craft runes by expending raw whale bone or sacrifice existing runes to accumulate raw whale bone for crafting bone charms. So, one thing they didn't really explain in Bonecharm Crafting is right when you get the first rank, you are able to make bone charms with 4 traits of scattered effects that you learn throughout the crafting system. So the way you learn a certain trait is you smash a bone charm, you get some raw whale bone from it, and you also learn that bone charm's effect to use in crafting. So if I have a bone charm that increases the duration of my doppelgangers, I would have to smash that original bone charm so that I could learn this effect, so that I can manipulate it into a 4-trait bone charm that you see in front of you. Now, there is a chance of corruption when you craft up to 4 traits for sure. So if I craft a bone charm with 4 traits, there is a higher chance of corruption, and some of these effects can be very devastating to your playstyle. I remember mine was like damage caused your mana to drain. I was like, oh fuck, I don't want that. Or it was something along those lines, like killing blood flies drains mana. Something really weird is that you can get as far as corruption goes. Another thing that's worth mentioning is that at rank 1, you cannot stack bone charm effects at all until you get the rank Trait Synergy. So you cannot stack any traits until Trait Synergy is acquired. So is Bonecharm Crafting worth it? Yes and no. And there are a few conditions that need to be met in order for you to acquire this perk. First and foremost, it's definitely a late game perk or a mid game perk. Basically, the perk itself is useless if you do not have bone charms that are going to effectively increase the effectiveness of your playstyle. So that's one of the conditions. Another condition is that you need to have established your build before you invest in this perk. It is by far more useful to spec into your powers that are going to make your playstyle what it is. So, like, I'm a Doppelganger Assault build. I'm going to want to spec into Doppelganger and Reflexes to an extent, Agility to an extent, and Bloodthirsty if I so freaking please. To be honest, I'm not sure if this perk is worth it, but I'll cover that later in a different video. But with that being said, you don't want to invest in a Bonecharm Crafting when your build isn't really complete, when all of your clutch perks aren't acquired. So any necessary perks that you want to acquire are enhancements, or powers or enhancements is what I should be calling them. Any powers or enhancements you want to get before you get Bonecharm Crafting, I highly recommend you do so before you invest into this skill. But it is worth it later on because you are going to acquire multiple bone charms across the game that are going to help emphasize your playstyle. But these buffs ultimately by themselves are not going to change the way you interact with the world or make you super overpowered or anything. Again, it's just further emphasis on the playstyle that you've already established. So how do you want to pick ranks when it comes to Bonecharm Crafting? Honestly, you can get away with only getting Bonecharm Crafting rank 1 and Trait Synergy. These are the only 2 you actually need out of the entire perk tree. And the reason that is because you're already investing 4 runes to get Trait Synergy and the base rank of Bonecharm Crafting. You'll be able to craft the most effective runes in the game once you have these 2 skills. And what you can do is you can preemptively create a save before you create that bone charm. Keep crafting it until it comes out without corruption. This literally works. I've tried it. It's a lot more grindy of a process when you don't have witchcrafting or mastercrafting because that lowers the chance of corruption. But ultimately, you can save scum around this crafting crafting mechanic, and it makes me scratch my head and wonder what the fuck were they thinking when they designed this perk. Like, a more sensible way to make this tree would have easily been, you can now create bone charms that have 3 traits. You can now create bone charms that have up to 4 traits. You can now break down runes. This would have made a lot more sense for this this skill, but it's nonsensical that you can just save scum around it. I think there shouldn't be any loopholes to your perk system or your crafting system. I think that's ridiculous. Why didn't they think that people would just save scum around this? I have no fucking clue. I don't know what they were thinking. It's just ridiculous. Though I went ahead and I grabbed these 2 ranks because I didn't want to spend like 30 minutes or whatever the fuck, or how long it would take based on chance to not get an uncorrupted bone charm without these perk ranks. So I grabbed these perk ranks a little bit later in the game once I got my bone charms that actually affect my playstyle in a significant manner. So guys, that about wraps it up for my Bone Charms Is It Worth It video. Just to reiterate on some of the points that I made, yes, Bone Charm Crafting is worth it, but only if the conditions are met that you have Bone Charms that are going to emphasize your playstyle, and you have already collected all the perk ranks that you get. And another thing I want to say is that rune crafting, what the fuck? Like, if you're already investing in this perk at the time I am, you have enough runes to where your build is pretty much done. I do not see the point in this perk. Maybe later down the line I will, but the bottom line is it has a steep investment in itself. 4 runes just for this perk rank? Fuck. That's not comfortable. If it were 2 runes, then I'd maybe consider it, but it's fucking 4. Like, with four runes, I can get all ranks of vitality. My build's already done. I have the powers I need because each power consumes a significant amount of mana. I'm not going to put them towards more powers. That'd be fucking stupid and retroactive and make no sense. So my only options are additional enhancements, right? Why would I get more runes? Why would I spend 4 runes immediately just to get vitality again anyhow? It makes no goddamn sense. It's just too much runes. And with those 2 ranks already kind of wasting runes themselves that you don't even necessarily need, that's another 4 runes that you could be putting towards vitality, strength, or fucking shadow kill if, I don't know, you don't care anymore. Anyways, guys, these are my thoughts on Bone Charm Crafting. Yes, it is worth it, but God, is it designed in such a weird, arbitrary, fucking convoluted, strange, pointless way. Like, it leans so much towards desultory that how did you design this? How did you read this on paper and was like, this is smart? I don't know. These are just my thoughts, guys. This is Violent Games signing off.